high school art for 10 years prior to coming to grad school. The kind of work I do, I usually focus on the body. I focused on creating these sort of human-esque figures, but they sometimes are in parts. They're not necessarily in their entirety, and they move from 2D to 3D. So sometimes they even stay in like a purgatorial space that's 2.5D, or like a space between the 2 and 3D. They go off the wall, they come out onto the floor. And I think I'm interested in the relationship between 2 and 3D, like two people would be in a relationship. So I think of like a flat plane, having conversation with, or being married to a sculpture. When I moved from a really rural area that I was living in for quite a while to Chicago, it was sort of a culture shock for me. The train, the sound, like everything sort of put me over the edge a little. It was really stimulating. And I think as a result, my work became very stimulating to look at. So my audience was looking at tons of color and pattern and gesture. My MFA piece was comprised of 2 pieces. In this space, there was sort of a gigantic woman who was really high up on the wall. She was above a man who was sort of lounged. In front of him was this red sort of decapitated leg or dismembered leg. That piece was called Make Room for Me. So it was about the relationship between these two and sort of their troubles and their sort of like, you know, patching things together. And then there was another piece on the far wall that was almost like a body as furniture piece. It was all white and had a pillow with my face on it. The lips were beaded, and that one was called Sleeping in the Wet Spot. So I'm interested in these stages of representation. So like in this piece, for example, this was taken with a webcam. Then I added clay on top and kind of mushed it, glued it up onto the wall again. It sagged and pulled my face in, so it gave it this sort of like exaggerated cheekbone kind of morphed face. How I represent being human in my work is sort of a patchwork of all these different source materials. It's sloppy and messy and like compartmentalized and pushed together and squished and stretched. I'd like to just keep experimenting, and maybe my teaching will inform that. I'm hoping that usually those two sort of are in conversation with each other, so my career as a teacher and educator and my career as an artist usually have a relationship.